Rascal Beats.
For your Caesar, Cardiff City, ride with me for your Caesar.
Hello, welcome back to Cardiff City World. Twice in a row, it's Evan James here, and I'm joined with another different guest. I feel like it's a different guest every time, which I have no problem with at all. It's the return of Jamie Anderson. How are you doing?
I'm good, mate. And it's been a brilliant week, isn't it, being a Bluebird? It's wow, we're scoring for fun and we're seeing some bloody good football, to go with it.
I've seen enough to deduct 10 points from Everton, and just that's the way. My only guess privileged criticism I can say is that we didn't score the goals earlier in Wimbledon or Luton, just because I have to have something to be negative about. But to be fair, what I was saying to Rob yesterday as well, I give credit to Wimbledon because they were a lot better than what the scoreline said. I have no doubt they'll stay up in almost a championship then, Christ. No, it used to be in League One. I have no doubt they'll stay up in League One. I mean, I think they're 16th now, but I think they got a good manager. And at the end of the day, we were a way better team. I never like saying that because it seems like it's a non-useful opinion about how we played, but we just were. And we just, before we come on airs, I was saying about the individuals and now they just sort of like, almost feels unfair to pick out one person to praise because you feel like, well, this person's also doing so well. It's like you don't want to miss anyone out, right? And I think we'll probably, again, this will be a bit sort of like a free-flowing show. I'm interested because I do obsess over FotMob because I get like all my football data from there. I just look at some of these ratings of like recent games and they just never seem to get it right. Maybe Tanner man of the match at 8.7 is fair enough. And I'm not saying you have to go into sort of like point whatevers unless you go to 0.5s. But I'm interested in the comments. I've done this before. I'm not sure how long this will take. If we just quick fire run through the ratings of what we think. But if I'm going to be honest, it's going to be a really difficult task for me because it's hard to not give everyone the same. But before we do that, I just want to say hi and evening to everyone in the comments. I gotta say, fair play to you lads as well. The people who turn up every single lads and lasses. I say lads as inclusive of both. But I gotta say thank you to everyone who's always engaging in the comments. And again, most of you are members, and it shows as well. And guys, if you aren't already, what are you doing? Just please become a member. It's literally costs almost nothing, right? You're not going to get as cheap as it is right now. And again, price a cup of coffee, if not less. And like I mentioned yesterday, Sai is about to drop his interview with Stephen Corker, former City legend, or will always be a City legend, if I'm being honest. And if people who are members will get early access to that a couple of weeks. So really exciting stuff. And I'm sure you'll let you all know when it's out. Let's say evening. We got your Paul as always. Evening, Evan, Jamie. Hope you're well. And chat. Evening, Cardiff. Oh, that's me. Sorry, I got some Cardiff City fan in you. Sorry. Evening to myself. Evening, Jeff. Oh god, that's embarrassing. Evening, Suze, Lee. Evening, all. Graham. Go on. We'll start with the first comment or question of the night. Do you think after the foul on Ashford that should have been a red card that his shirt will fit Kanga now? I didn't actually read the question before I put it up there, but I what was the I can't oh yeah, it was the shirt pull, wasn't it? I don't know about that. It looked like he was really dramatic when he went down after it, but it probably was a foul, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think we're probably basing it off what we had in Rotherham the previous weekend or the week before that with the Wintle situation, albeit there's probably the distance to the goal. At the time, you could see it was a blatant pullback, whether it was a red or whatever, I'm not too sure. But he definitely had a large chunk of his shirt. But then, like you said, if you're being a bit pragmatic about things, we probably got away with two, let's say, fairly physical challenges on the left-hand side, didn't we, during the game? I think the referee at times just tried to make the game flow a little bit. But again, with physical defenders or physical players, there's that line, isn't there, where if you let it flow too much, they're gonna step over it. Yeah,
it's It's difficult because you're always going to want to back a team for everything, right? And I try I'm not a qualified ref, or not in, I am in basketball, not in football, but I try to sort of see things, when I have ref games in other sports, let's just say, I try to always see the other side of it and think like there's always going to be a bias in the ref's mind to tend to favour the away team slightly more. That's just how it naturally is, because they got a smaller crowd, but at the same time, like the influence of the home crowds, when you hear the moans and groans, that can also play an impact. And sometimes, especially at bigger levels, at Premier League levels, refs do feel a lot more pressure to give certain calls. And I find that the higher up you go, the less contact you're allowed to make. I feel like in League One, you can kind of get away with almost murder, and they still won't really blow, or even if they blow. I don't think the ref gave out. He literally gave out one card the other night to the centre back Johnson, and to be fair, he was the one that was being a bit of a silly man last time we played him as well, I think. And I'm surprised he didn't get sent off for last time. But he gave one booking out. He let a lot go, didn't he? The ref. I think some refs are just like that. They have a certain style. They just want to let things play out, and giving out cards and everything, it slows the game down more. But if I'm being honest, when you're like 3-4-1 up, then it's like there should be nothing that really changes how you ref, right?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's tough, isn't it? Because this season we've been on the end of some ludicrous decisions. I think that shows with the reactions of BBM of late. They first and foremost, as anybody has, whether you're a coach or an official, you have a duty of care to the players on the pitch and off the pitch. We've seen this year, obviously, the most notable game would have been the Stockport game, where Wintle was elbowed, clear as day. It's a straight red card. He gives the yellow. The same game, obviously, the Salek incident happened, which we're still waiting for Youssef to even touch a football yet because of the serious nature of that injury. It just feels like at times the officials are having a say and almost trying to derail what we're actually doing. We look like one of the only sides in the league that probably wants to play an attractive brand of football. And that's not to say that we're the only team that can play football, but there's different ways to win games. But you don't want referees allowing cynical and rash challenges and ultimately giving them, because like someone said in the comments there, if they've been swayed by a larger home crowd, or if they've been swayed by a certain manager, or certain captains, I find are very clever with the way that they can speak to referees. And I think it took us a while this year for us to almost let's say grow a pair to go up to referee and actually say, listen, we've had enough. And I think of late you've seen that with BBM and his coaching staff. They've had enough, and they're not in for it anymore.
It's difficult though, because it's like it's a lost situation. Because I think with Warnock back in the Premier League, it's like that Chelsea game. Like, come on, everyone remembers that Chelsea game with the Willian Afro with the offside. It boggles my mind to think that the ref couldn't at least sort of look around the side to see if Azpilicueta was offside. And it's like it's moments like these where, like, I get it, right? When you're in the POV of the ref, right, and you get that tunnel vision, you do miss things. But like, there's certain things you think like how, like I saw that from the other corner of the pitch. You know what I mean? It's like things like that, and he has linesmen as well, so he's not on his own. And again, I'm not going to make this entire pod about hurling on the refs, but I feel like it's kind of a good opener for an icebreaker, really, because I don't know. I look at other teams, and I don't watch them religiously, but I do like to watch to see how other teams are getting on in League One or in the league we're in. And, there's not that many teams I think they could probably say that have been hard done by, really. Again, we could bring this debate up till the cows come home if it's because we're a Welsh team in English League. I try to look past that a bit, but I just see it in terms of individual mistakes from refs. It's the Isaac Davis one. I wasn't actually there to see it on telly or at the game as I was working, but I saw someone post a video of it. Now that video was uploaded in like potato quality 420p, so like I didn't really get a good view of that, and I could still see it was clear as day from the far side of the pitch that he was elbowed, and it was just ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, we could all say what we want with the refs, but I gotta say the results keep coming regardless. So it's nice to know that it's not costing us games like it probably would have at the start of the season, maybe, isn't it?
Yeah, spot on. And like, again, we'll probably like the header says, we'll look back at Luton first, then we'll look at the Wimbledon game, and obviously look forward to this Saturday. I think the best thing for us now is we are probably starting to see the fruits of the labour of the early parts of the season, so to say. I think, whenever you go down a league or an upper league, there's going to be a period of sort of like nurturing yourself into the league. And I think we had that at the start of the season. I think we had a few little ways of, let's say, just trying to win games no matter what. It was very end-to-end, very much like a basketball sort of game. There was no real structure. But to be fair to the coaching staff, to be fair to the players, now they've established themselves and they familiarised themselves with the league. We're starting to see more, I would say, dominance in games where we're not being hit too aggressively on the counter-attack. We're not being punished by it because we're able to nullify that. But we're also being so effective from a front that, we created chances before, but now we're finishing the chances. And I think it's so good to watch. And we're being spoilt, I think, with the type of goals that we're scoring.
Yeah, that's perfectly summed up, really. We were being spoilt by the type of goals we're scoring. I think I feel like we've, as fans, we've kind of deserved a season like this, really, a complete reset. And look, I was kind of, originally, I was really worried about the season ahead for the season back when we had last season. So when we just sort of basically confirmed we've been relegated, we just played Norwich and it all was over. I was worried, thinking we're probably going to finish mid-table in League One. And again, we had that sort of period where everyone's on, everyone feels down. Certain players saying, they committed to the club, they will stay. But let's be honest, a lot of players say that and they got to, and I don't blame them for saying that, posting on there to acknowledge the season, that it was, a failed season. But once I saw BBM was appointed, even I was thinking, oh, wow, I can't believe, we've kind of pulled it off in a way. And look, I didn't think at that moment we'd won the league, but I thought, we got a chance of the playoffs this season with him in charge. And even as an experienced manager, let's say, he's been at Rochdale and, I'm sure he learned a lot from there. I think one of his main criticisms was he was very passive. He was very possession heavy, but not very progressive. But I think that after the first few games, he's kind of built on that. He started, first of all, just getting us to a possession-based team. And then from that, then he sort of escalated, and we've been seeing more and more ruthless attack now, where we're leaving almost, I think before, when we started doing it, we left like one or two defenders back, but now we have a proper number 6. We have a box crasher number 8 in Joel Colwell, and sometimes it even looks like he's playing a striker. And players are so fluid in terms of the positions, and you could tell from the start, BBM has thought, at the start of the season, he's bringing in these players to play in multiple positions, knowing that at some point someone's going to pick up an injury, and knowing he's got a small squad as well. So it's been kind of like a masterstroke in terms of thinking that far ahead. I don't see any other managers doing that. I see other managers going, okay, well, we need at least 2 people as a backup in these positions in case someone gets injured. With BBM, it's more like, I need to know that my striker can play attacking midfielder or winger, one of the 2, to cover, which, if I'm being honest, I haven't seen many managers do that.
No, I mean, you only got to look back at the Bradford game where, we've drawn at Leyton Orient, which was probably at the time a disappointing result because the manner of the performance, we looked a bit lapsed, especially with the Trot situation and things like that. Then we went to Bradford and we thought, right, that's going to be a huge game. And at the time, Bradford were, not too far away from the 2nd, 3rd spot. So we thinking that's huge. And what that showed to me was straight away that BBM is very able. He's very knowledgeable to go, right, I'm going to put somebody who's not in the correct position. They're going to repay me. It's almost like a task, isn't it? So Joe Colwell, for example, going in right back. Joel Colwell would never have played there before, but he's got this ethos, he's got this way and belief with these players that is ultimately, you give me 100, I'll give you 100 back. Yeah. And I think they've opened into this way now that they all believe they've got a key part to play. And I genuinely think that you look at it now, look at Joel Colwell being the perfect example. Up until the Bradford game, he didn't really feature. He was a bit part player. Now look at him 3-4 games later, he's a focal player. And I think that wouldn't happen if you didn't have a manager that was constantly communicating, reassuring, and saying to the players, you will get your opportunity. And I think, like someone said there about NG Kellerman, Joel Colwell-Tanner. Tanner's probably the perfect example. Someone who was out for months. Look at him now with, what is it now? He's got eight assists in the last 7 games. Like, that's Ollie Tanner, who had a big injury. And I think, like someone said there, the cheat codes, that's a great way of putting it, because he is a new signing in a way. Like BBM said, he'd be like a new signing. He'd be the sort of player he'd have been looking at in January. And I think, we're now getting Ruben Colwell back. We are being blessed with a great set of players who are young, hungry, and most of them, the Cardiff fans, they're Cardiff, they want to do well for the club. So it's win-win-win, hopefully.
Born and raised, honestly. It is like a cheat code, really. I mean, we got to be honest, right, how fortunate we are, right, to have a gold mine of a youth academy, because not many League One teams can say they'd have it, because by the time that they even figure out there's someone half decent at the age of 15, they're going off to like Sunderland or other really good youth academy setups. Like Southampton is another big one, right? I mean, Liverpool got half their players from the Southampton academy, more or less. And it's like they're going straight away. The age, it's getting younger and younger now. These players have been scouted, where they're probably going to be just starting high school by the time that they get scouted for somewhere like Liverpool now. It's like the modern game's become so much younger, and that's not a bad thing necessarily, but it shows that like teams are very quick to snap players up, even if they haven't played a minute of men's football yet. And we've been so fortunate that we're one of the few gold mines in League One that actually get to utilize our youth academy like it is basically a transfer window. And not to say that BBM's gone recklessly through like all the youth academy and introduced them. I mean, we had that Tankovic and Doncev, the Polish duo. I think they are Welsh, aren't they? But of Polish sort of like thing as well. And I think with them, like the 15 years old, it's ridiculous. I mean, you'd only see 15-year-olds feature for like Liverpool, Arsenal, really, and that's like in cup games as well, and for like 10, 15 minutes. We've got 2 15-year-olds who've already made their appearance, and it wasn't just for the sake of breaking the record of the Aaron Ramsey thing. It was intentional. They want to give minutes, and I look at that Doncev guy. I think people say Don Cuba. I think also I tried to learn how to say it the Polish way. But people like him, like I seen, he's a very quick player, and apparently he's a midfielder. But if I'm being honest, for like the 5-10 minutes he was on, I think even though we lost the game against Newport, it was it's like these players are rapid. They want to prove themselves. They're not scared. Like they might feel the pressure of it, but they're looking now at the current squad and see now we're giving players a chance, and we're not. And the fans aren't just grilling them after they make one mistake, or at least the majority of the fans aren't. It's a very encouraging environment to be brought up in. I think there's not going to be another time for us to do this, because hopefully that's for a good reason, because we'll be in higher leagues in seasons to come. But this is like possibly a once in a lifetime opportunity season for me. It's a chance to reset when most teams, don't usually get that chance to. They don't really get the available manager market to them. They kind of, I want to say, stuck with who they got. But you know what I mean? It's like, for example, I don't mean to pick names out, but I think Exeter recently sacked their manager, didn't they? Or they put in a new one. It's like, they're not really going to have the same options as someone like Cardiff who's just been relegated. But so we have to, think of how grateful we are for that, really. But at the same time, deservedly so.
Yeah, and again, I think the biggest thing this year is, yes, it's granted we've gone down and we didn't want to do that, and we spoke about this throughout the season. There had to be a silver lining somewhere, and the silver lining for us was that the first important thing was getting the right person to be appointed. That did take longer than we all wanted, but we're sat here now praising the lords of BBM, because he is fantastic, and I've said this to Si on many shows. For me, I think he's got an IQ that, no disrespect to the other managers in the league, they just don't have. I think, at times throughout the season, we were all asking, was there a plan B as such? I think at times we lacked certain players or personnel. So he's had to learn and he's had to adapt as well. And we're seeing that now. Even when we go, like for example, the Luton game, we concede. It just wakes us up. It almost wakes us up and we go up another gear. And it just and when we go up that next gear, sides just can't cope with us. And I know people will say it's League One, and I completely get that. But you've got to play what's in front of you, and we're not in a position to be nitpicking the sides we're against. This is the hand we were dealt with. I really do feel that we are going in strides, and we've seen it in years gone by, Evan, where Ipswich, Sunderland, just to name two teams, they've had to go down to rebuild and go back up where they are now. So we can only use those as models and think, actually, what we are achieving at the minute, we're doing it our way. We're doing it the Cardiff City way, which isn't always straightforward. But what we're doing we're enjoying it, and I'm hoping, like I said, is we're ticking these games off as they go by. We've got a tough one, as we'll speak about in a bit, with Plymouth on Saturday. Then we've got to go to Doncaster, and then we've got the massive one. Then we'll be playing Lincoln. So we just need ticking these games off. And if we're scoring what we scored now, the last 3 games, we scored 3, 6, 10 goals in 3 games. That's crazy. How many teams are going to be able to cope with that? Probably not many. So, yeah, again, I suppose we'll probably start off now talking about the Luton. Well, let's say the Luton, Jack Wilshere, not knowing his rules of the game, let's say.
I had a description up here yesterday. What did I say? Oh, slightly a tad bit more consistent than Luton. I put, and yeah, look, I said to Rob, I think he's just trying to get a reaction out of the players, out of the fans, try and gather up everything, and then once he realizes that is, the big talk has a big consequence if it doesn't follow through. It's hard to talk your way out of that, then, isn't it? I suppose you kind of just sort of got to BS your way out of the press conference, but. I do admire it, respect him to have that level of confidence, but I just think it is a little bit naive at the same time and think look at the table. You know what I mean? Like they were 7th or 8th now, I think they are, and it's like everyone thought. Let's be honest, I was very, and again I will always bang on about this point till the day I die. Right? Everyone was saying predicting how Luton was going to finish top. I didn't even think they'd make the playoffs. Really, I at the very most, I thought they would get 6, and that was about it. I genuinely don't think they've got the quality or the consistency, let's say, to go back up to the Championship just yet. I think maybe with another season, and if Jack Wilshere finds his way there, I'm sure they will dominate it next season. But I also think that Plymouth are making a late comeback now, and that's who we got next, and we'll talk about them just a tad later. But it's funny now. We sort of played Luton, and we're going to be playing Plymouth in very close timings. It was the same thing at the start of the season as well. I think one of the best things we had was, maybe a bit of luck to say that we had a lot of the big teams early on before anyone could figure us out. But at the same time, we did play teams who were just come up as well, like Port Vale and teams like Burton as well. And I'd be honest, right? I'm surprised that we really struggled against them. But the even going all the way back to the Port Vale game, that was kind of like a reality check of thinking now we weren't really, we went back to all ways there because we'd only just started playing the BBM way. But now it's like, we haven't had, and touch wood, we haven't had one of those games really since then, have we? I mean, we've had poorer games where we haven't played as well, but for me, we haven't had, I'm going to say bullet ball then. We haven't had a game where we've been, terrible, let's say, since that point. But I'll let you add on to that just quickly, and I want to sort of get a bit more into the Luton review.
I mean, I think listen, it's like any new project as such, or any new journey. You have to learn the direction you want to go in, and you also have to be consistent with the direction you go in. You can't take U-turns. We've seen it in the past with managers, haven't we, where we've kind of we've been very indecisive. Last year was a prime example where if plan A wasn't working, we wouldn't be able to change it. We wouldn't know what we're doing. Players wouldn't know their roles. But this year we've really found a way of believing, and the key thing is we're believing in the way we want to play. It's literally it's the same way, but the intensity just goes up. And you know, I think for the, like someone said there about regards to the Luton, for example, like their away record is wretched. They lost again last night, and their players were kicking off with their fans away at Wigan. It's amazing how modern football works, because naturally you want to win. You know, when you haven't won away for a long time, fans will get happy. But like you said, if they're 7th or 8th from the league, it depends on which side the spectrum you're on. Are you happy because you're there, or are you underachieving? But yeah, like I think, listen, BBM is brilliant. You know, we follow them across the country, as you say, and our fans, to their credit, again, another sold out away end. Come what Saturday, hopefully it'll be another brilliant result.
I just seen who Luton have got next as well. They've got Burton Albion. That's amazing. Who have they got? They got Burton Albion home, right? I laugh at them because they've been like a dark horse, really, right? They haven't done that well, and they're only really 1 point off relegation zone. But I tell you what, they were a very weird bunch to figure out. I wouldn't say there's many players. Maybe Charlie Webster's in the team, who's a standout player. Whether he's still there, I'm not sure. But I always thought, how can we like draw or lose to like Burton? It just shit in my mind. But I just know Burton are going to win, or at least going to be a draw. I get that feeling now because Jack Wilshere, that's going to be played back to him. And again, I don't want to dig into too much, but like, look, when the captain is shushing us after a penalty, and then we go on to batter them 3-1, and then even the EFL, when they posted the highlights, put that as a thumbnail on there, because usually you put the winning team right on the thumbnail. But literally, even the EFL thought, this would be some great content. Yeah, it puts Jordan Clark, is it, on the thumbnail? Oh, it's just absolute cinema, I have to say. But yeah, I'm carried away with that now. And I'll go through a couple of comments, because guys, you've been very patient with letting us catch up, by the way. Jonathan said, I saw this earlier. Jonathan Mordecai, evening, mate. 6 wins might be enough to take us up. I doubt it's enough for the title. Lincoln are not letting up. But I guess they're probably thinking the same thing. And like, what does it take for Cardiff to drop points? Because they can't really, as long as we keep winning, they can't really do anything else. They can keep winning as well. And look, if I'm going to be honest, I think it is pretty much, as long as nothing drastic happens with us now, I think it's pretty much just us and Lincoln. And as much as I want to get the title, either way, I think it's going to be a miracle. Well, I say miracle. It's going to be impressive to blow this lead now. And again, I'm touching wood as I'm saying that, because, the old Cardiff City way. But if I'm being honest, right, with the amount of belief this team's got, like you said now with BBM, it doesn't make any sense. And I think that worst case is we go a second to Lincoln and we're chasing the title, really.
Yeah, I mean, again, it depends on what side of the coin you're looking at, because again, the other night we're kind of accustomed to expecting Lincoln to win now, aren't we? I think the rest of the league they're almost the weekend bankers of Cardiff and Lincoln, because we both find ways, even when we're struggling or we're drawing and a side thinks they've got hope, bang, goal alert, Cardiff has scored, goal alert, Lincoln has scored. But like I said, the other night was a funny one, because, I think on Saturday, the Lincoln game, I said with Si, I wanted a draw in the other game, just because it opened up that buffer. They were to drop points, and Bolton wouldn't gain any points. They drew. We went 4 points clear of Lincoln, respectively, and a larger gap with Bolton. And as we sit here now, 4 points ahead of Lincoln, but most importantly, in my opinion, is 12 points ahead of Bolton.
Yeah, that's what I was saying yesterday, yeah.
And again, I know we all want the shiny trophy. We all want the accolade of finishing first. Of course we do. But if you would have put us here, say 5 months ago, said, I will offer you this, you'd be in the top 2, and you're probably guaranteed at the minute to be top 2. We'd have bit it off and said, I don't care first or second, just get us back up. So I think, again, like I said, we've got the quote winnable games, but it's all setting up for, like we said, a free show is for Sky Sports to, on that day against Lincoln, to have this brilliant pre-match show and so on, because at the minute, like we said today, we've got another game that now has been changed because of Sky Sports with a shiny piece of the EFL League One. So it's going to be a roller coaster no matter what. I don't think we're going to have easy games, like someone's mentioned in the comments. First half and second half, respectively, we've probably killed sides off in spells as opposed to the whole 90 minutes. I think it's like a boxing fight, isn't it, Ed? Where you've got to sometimes, you've got to work
conserve
out
energy.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, then you just tire someone out and you just go up another gear and they just can't cope with it. And like we talked about earlier about the bench and the impact subs, you can only imagine what the opposition are thinking when you're seeing Callum Robinson coming on, Ruben Cole coming on. You're probably thinking, "Oh, Bimanek, give me a break, will you?"
Yeah, imagine think you're bringing on someone who scored 4 times against Chelsea in like 70 minutes. It's ridiculous. And don't get me wrong, right? I know like Callum Robinson hasn't really, probably featured as much as he wanted to and hasn't scored the goals he wanted to, but it showed in that spell he had when he scored 4 or 5 goals. I mean, like, he can do it. It's like all these players can do it. I mean, Joel Colwell is not really naturally a striker, but if I'm being honest, he scored enough goals, more goals than half the League One strikers already, I think. And it's fair play to Suze. I have to bring this up because it takes effort to do all this. But Cardiff, I think it's played 32 games now, 21 wins, 6 draws, and 5 losses. Like that like only person who's matches on losses there is Lincoln, and that's for a good reason. It's because that's how tight it's gone now. Bolton have lost 6. But every other team now, Bolton and Luton, hang on. Yeah, Bolton are the only other team that's lost like 6 games or less. Everyone else has lost minimum 8 games. And, those 3 extra losses can be massive because, look, I mean, like I say, the middle of the table, it's still really all to play for. Like, you got from 24th up until, I wouldn't really include Port Vale, but you got 31 points for Rotherham on 23rd. And then 36 points for Blackpool in 17th. That's so much wiggle room for other teams to fall in. I think it's just nice not to have that kind of worry that we at least not in we're not fighting as much. And look, don't get me wrong, I feel like we're used to kind of fighting to get to the top. And when the pressure's on, we tend to perform a bit better sometimes. But it's nice not having to be in that anxiety-inducing moment as much this time. But again, I touch wood when I say all this, guys, don't worry. But I'll scroll a bit towards the comments now. But we'll move on a bit more to the, I think my man of the match for the Luton game, I think everyone probably would agree, was that Perry Ng. And he did it again against Wimbledon, if I'm being honest. I mean, I hate to single out players because I think everyone's been amazing so far. But Perry Ng is just back to his old self now, isn't he?
He is, and again, I suppose as fans, we've just got to hope that there is a plan for him. He's got the last 3-4 months of his contract. We are still none the wiser as to whether he's going to be extended, given a new contract or whatever. But listen, I think we've earned for that sort of NG masterclass, haven't we? We've kind of had a bit of an up and down NG because when he's going great, he's unbelievable, and we know technically he's fantastic. We then see, like, at times it's not head loss as such, but that different side of him, which sometimes goes well, sometimes doesn't. But it had to take something special this year to take Ronan Capaccio out the team, especially after his start of the season. It's frightening that Ronan Capaccio put 6 assists up this year. And up until recently, he was the top assister at the club. But Perry Ng has just gone about his business very quietly, very adequately. And like I mentioned earlier about taking time to familiarise yourself with things, similar to Callum Chambers. And I think Callum Chambers mentioned in his pre-match before the weekend was the managers modified the way they play. So they're able to then go into these positions and feel more comfortable because it's front foot football. It's not, you kind of press high. You work as a team as opposed to an individual. And that strike on Saturday was just unreal. But the header on Tuesday night was just as important because I think, like you said, is Wimbledon were on top while they're having a little spell, weren't they? And then we kind of knocked the stuffing out of them a little bit with a cracking header. And I think an Ollie Tanner in swinging corner. That was a beautiful delivery for him. He just needed to flick it and glance it in before the keeper. It was in the net. And yeah, Perry Ng is just going up levels, mate. And it's what we say, he goes by the name of Perry Ng. It certainly does. And you can't help but sing it all night then because, you're coming out the Canton stand or you're coming out the stadium when he's done something good singing it. It's that's brilliant, mate. He is brilliant, he is, to be fair.
I just tried to look at the stats. I wanted to get like a detailed sort of thing of all the players, but on Football, it's going to be slightly different. I look at top scorers. You got Yusuf Salek on 12 goals. Chris Willock on 7. I didn't think he was the second top scorer in our club. But hey, that's. I mean, last season I think he might have scored maybe 1 or 2 goals. But regardless how many he scored, I mean the difference in a player like him, is complete revival. Callum Robertson on 5 then. But if I'm being honest, the goals have kind of been shared around quite evenly, would you say? I mean, Perry NG, I think, I'm surprised he's not in the top 3 goal scorers because he scored quite a few. But then you go into assists then. You've got Ollie Tanner on 9 assists. He's missed half the season. And then you got Roda Kapako on 6 that you said, Chris Willock on 5. Now, to me now, you've got Chris Willock appearing in both of those, right? 7 goals, 5 assists. And yeah, it's crazy. It's just I just don't get it. I know I say I don't get carried away and stuff like that, but how can you know when you see stuff like that from players who, especially, not disrespect to Chris Willock, right? But let's be honest, I don't think any of us really predicted that turn of events for him. Same with Callum Chambers, really, but I'm so glad that it has happened.
Yeah, definitely. I think, like someone just mentioned there, I think it's about John just said about his inconsistent. For me, I think it comes down to, I think it's almost like the hot and cold, isn't it? It's tough when I think at certain times in games, the ball needs to be placed in the right position in order for our wingers to be effective. I think if they've got their back to the goal, 9 times out of 10, they're either cutting inside into traffic or they're going backwards. I think when we start playing, right, you see the Will Fish diagonal ball, which is over the top of the defenders, and we can use the speed getting in behind, we're frightening. And, I know people will say the mitigating circumstances, we're in League One and they should be doing better and so on. That's credit, and that's true. That's a credible, assumption. But you've still got to do the job. And if you're not doing the job, BBM will hook you. And, I just think it's sometimes you've got, like we said earlier on, you've got to almost do the dirty work in order for the other person who's coming off the bench to make the glorified impact. And we've had games where we scored a 96-minute winner this season where, unfortunately, the winger might not get an assist for 90 or 70 minutes that he's on, but then he's made enough of a contribution where that left back or that right back, respectively, is tired. And then Isaac Davis or a Kean Ashford can come on with fresh legs, make him dizzy and score a goal. So it does swing in roundabouts. And I think the problem is when we're going well, you've got to be mindful that you don't have an I. It's all about we. It's not an I, because I think everyone wants a piece of the cake and everyone wants to be the headline stats and goals and so on. But now I think we've got a collective, and I think that's what's gone wrong in the years gone by, is we've had too many individuals and not maybe a team approach and a cohesive team, because they've kind of looked after themselves possibly as opposed to looking after everyone else.
Yeah, I apologies if I sound a bit distracted then, but I did see, I do agree. I did see Lee Pro comment here. I'm just interested to find out, I think you did start answering this, Lee, but disagreeing with NG and Tanner a bit, thinking they're not as good, and saying NG has had a good couple of games lately, and Tanner's still finding his feet after injury, but it's starting to come good. I mean, I think 2 things can be right. I think you could still say they have another gear to go up again, but I don't really see what much more the likes of NG has to do to prove that he's the starting right back at the moment. And again, I think Kapako has been chucked in deep end at left back a few times and it's not quite worked out. But at the same time, you can't drop Perry NG at the moment, can you? And I disagree with Tanner completely as well. I think Tanner's on the goals and assists, he's got 10, so combined. I don't know what else he has to do really. And he's missed half the season. Sure, he could probably increase his pace a bit more now. Maybe he's still not fully back up to how fast he can run, but we're talking, very sort of nitpicking things. I think at least now, because we're probably getting a lot of the good pie now, and we just want even more of it. And like you said before, getting promoted, we just saying that we would get second, we'd a bit their hand off for that. But I guess. Well, I don't know. I'm sure you're going to jump in now, but to be fair, I disagree with that respectfully. I don't think what else they have to do really.
I think the key thing is you look at Ollie Tanner. We know he is this raw player. He's done which we've not really seen in years gone by. He's jumped up multiple leagues, and we saw moments and glimpses. And I think sometimes you can probably overcoach a player, and we see that in modern football now, where it's all about tactics. It's all about formation. And in actual fact, we don't see what that type of player is good at. It almost is coached out of them. The good thing about Ollie Tanner, I think, is match fitness is coming. It's going to take, when you had 3-4 months out, it's going to take you a good few games. Numbers don't lie. 8 assists in 7 games. And like you said, he's up there. So in his defense, he'd be like, what more can I do? He missed that opportunity the other night, which I think you'll look at it and say, I should have hit the target. But then he's shown good character, maybe a bit of frustration with that, and he's smashed it then past the keeper. What I like most about Ollie Tanner since he's come back is his confidence using his right foot. Because you can see it sometimes where, if you're any sort of manager, you'll go, right, they've switched sides. So a left footer's on the right, he's going to cut in, it's going to be easy, you can telegraph it. What Ollie Tanner's done now is, and he's still learning it, I suppose, is it's like the triggers. We saw that with when Trott gets the ball, how the players instantly start splitting and moving. With Ollie Tanner, you can see that if he's going to go inside, he will wait for Perry NG or another player to go around him and withdraw that sort of left back and take him out. But I think with Ollie Tanner now is he's got that belief in himself to go, I'll take it on my left and I'll whip it in on my right. We saw that with a Kellerman goal the other week where he was able to take it on a half touch, go down the flank, whip it in on a sixpence for Kellerman just to guide it back where it's come from. And, again, Tanner he's somebody that we all know has got this talent. We just want to see it more consistent. At the minute, it seems to be, flowing. Again, we're scoring goals. And I think we said pre-show, we're scoring more goals now with, I know Sue's just said about Salek's update today, which is brilliant to hear. We're scoring probably more goals now because we look more fluid in and out of possession without Salek being in the team. Now, who would have thought that, say, a couple of months ago, that we'd be okay, well, more than okay, without Yusuf Salek being in the team. And yet he's still our top scorer with 12 goals. It's amazing how we've got a team just mixing in with the goals, with key contributions. And like I just said, it's not about it's about we. We're all contributing, whether that's a centre-half scoring like Callum Davis did from 35 yards. Everyone's having a key contribution. And I think that's why we are the best team record, on stats at home, points per game, and the best team away from home, stats per game. What are we now? 31, 32 games in the season.
32,
You're not there by fluke. You're there by merit.
No.
And same with Lincoln. And I think we just got to keep going, because while we're riding this positive wave, let's keep it going. Because normally, like we said, negatives always are infectious, but so's a positive. So if we can keep this positive wave going,
momentum,
Yeah, and hopefully the crowd start coming back as well. I know the kickoff times are a bit pain in the arsey, so to say, at the minute with Sky TV and so on. But just keep going, keep coming, keep supporting, because come what may, at Mansfield away, it's going to be great. And I haven't experienced, many highs as a Cardiff City fan. I don't think many people probably have. So while it's going well, let's just enjoy it.
Come what may, indeed. That's a double entendre there, because it probably will be May when we're up, or before that even. I like to go back to when you said about the stuff players being coached out of certain things. I think I'll give Bullet credit for where it's due, because I think Bullet was an essential part of teaching the importance of of everyone defending and doing the defensive duties. And I think it was important that Ollie Tanner experienced such a very defensive-minded coach in Noah Bullet, because he got him to do the defensive duties when usually wouldn't, because I just knew he wouldn't play him if he wouldn't defend. Again, each manager had this sort of pros and cons, and I think the problem with the issue with Bullet was the fact that he was just too defensive. He's too negative, I think, in terms of chance creation, and no wonder it's a weird thing that we finished 12th when we had one of the lowest XG conversion or whatever things. Only Rotherham was lower and they got relegated. But so we scored. I think we actually scored the fewest goals in that season, or one of because it's all set pieces. But the one thing that he did get Tanner doing right was defending more. And I think now, if it weren't for that, I still think he would have improved a lot in the BBM. But I do think that past managers do have positive/negative influences on how they play now. You could see like the likes of, again, you could just say Tanner now. It's like he's kind of coached, just like Josh Bowler, kind of coached out of taking on people 1v1s. Now we're seeing him dribbling directly at players, or more or less so. And look, occasionally, once in a while, he will lose the ball. And don't get me wrong, it's painful and it stings to see that. But at the same time, what would be more painful and sting more was to see players backing off the challenge, or seeing wingers not wanting to take the players on 1v1. Because that's what you used to see. I mean, Mendes, Lang, Junior Hoylett. I mean, we saw players like that in the Premier League, just having the confidence to take them on. And knowing that we have the confidence now, it shows they've got the talent to back it up as well, because no player dribbles like that unless they're confident they can beat their man. I feel like for so many years now, we've had wingers who, or let's say people who played out wide, or whoever's out wide, and it's just, you can tell they thinking, oh, there's no way he's beating that man, and that, it's not, you don't want to think your own players, but it gives you that kind of vibe, and it's nice now. It's not just out wide, but it's everywhere. Players as young as like Joel Colwell now, who are taking on 2-3 players, still managing to keep the ball. And I give actually Alex Robertson a mention as well, because I think he's one of the players who's got the least credit. And, don't get me wrong, as I said before, they will be doing really well. But I think since he's come back, I didn't think he was really a number 6 to begin with, but he proved he can do a job for Wintle in replacement. And even though they play alongside each other, I think he's been. I barely seen Robertson lose the ball this season. He makes a couple of silly fouls, but if there's one player I've rarely seen lose the ball, it's been him. And he does sometimes the work that kind of goes unnoticed, because it's never usually anything flashy. I'm surprised he hasn't really got more assists for what he's done so far. But I just want to sort of mention him because I just feel like people haven't talked about him that much. Is there any player or players that you think deserve a mention, maybe you haven't got so much attention, or am I putting you a bit on the spot there? Or
no, I always think we'll start from the back. I think you know what Nathan Trott's like. At the beginning of the season, especially, he was phenomenal for us, and he does come in clutch when we need him. So that's the thing. I think centre back, someone just mentioned Osho there. Isn't it great to see Gabe Osho getting that smile back on his face? Most importantly, when footballers aren't having a good time, mistakes happen, their football doesn't speak. It's a negative, isn't it? He's got that smile back on his face. He did that brilliant, human sort of interview where he
I was thinking of that. New Year's resolution.
Yeah, and you know what? Honesty is always the best policy, but to be fair, it's never nice to hear someone say that they almost walk around the the shops with the hood up because they didn't want to be called out for certain things. But he's now showing his importance. Like I mentioned earlier about the Bradford away game. There are times where we need that old school defending. Dylan Lawler start the season fantastic. We've got 4 great centre backs at the club, and we've got areas now where we can look at. Joe Bagan, to be fair to him, despite the amount of minutes he's putting through the roof, he's now got competition, but he's also just trying his hardest. He's still getting forward. I think Joe Bagan is someone I really do believe is fantastic. David Turnbull, he doesn't always get the plaudits that he deserves, but I think when David Turnbull and Robertson are linking up brilliantly, we click. You can't go away without saying Amari Kellerman. What a player. We all knew there was a talent there, but now we've seen it with regular game time and this fluid approach. He seems unplayable. But again, you can't help but just think, how many goals are we going to score now? We're going to have a setback. We're going to have a loss at some point, no doubt. But I think what we are doing is we're learning. We're learning on the spot. And to be 32 games into a season and still learning, is brilliant, because we're not complacent. We're at it, and BBM spoke very well again today. It's right, that game is done. Luton and Wimbledon are over. We're going to Plymouth now, and it's not the best of places. Will Fish said that himself earlier on, but we've got a job to do, and it's enjoy it, move on. Enjoy it, move on. And that's what I love about this team. It's never say die. It's not resting on your laurels. It's getting stuck in. Let's get the next job done. It's like delivering a parcel one place and then you're moving on to the next place. And again, like John's saying there, he finds it crazy NG Bagan and Wintle are still out of contract. Hopefully there is something going on, because in the years gone by, our club have been very lax, haven't they? Let's be honest, with contractual situations. Let's hope at least there is some offers there that we can hopefully get them. But obviously now with 20 minutes left, we got Saturday. What are we going to talk about Saturday? What are we going to have a look at? It'd be brilliant. I think it's going to be a good day.
Yeah, I think with Wintle NG, I would not be surprised if they get new contracts on the same day, because I think they both come from Crew Alexander. I think they're besties or whatever. And I think maybe NG felt a bit left out maybe when Winter wasn't there last season. Maybe, I don't know. Again, he was in the best of regardless, but I think with having his partner back and they're both thriving well, it's it's going to make him feel comfortable. But I think also I will one more mention as well is Kian Ashford as well. I think he's kind of been only just reintegrated in the team now, and again, he was my person I thought was going to be the player of the season by far. And look, he hasn't disappointed, but there's been so many other contenders this season. It's been so close, really. I mean, if you were to pick a player of the season right now, I mean, you'd ask 10 people, you probably get about at least 8 different responses to it. But yeah, so even Jonathan, by the way, nice to see you halfway through. But I was scrolling back through the comments. I know we missed quite a few. But Cardiff City fans says, about the Sky Sports thumbnail, I've seen a Luton fan saying anything for the thumbnail. I thought it was great, honestly. Yeah, moving on from that. So I can't move on from that, actually. I'll forever live by that. Let's have a look. Oh, anyone know? Oh, God, this is going to hit my brain. Anyone know where we are in the set piece table? 2 goals Tuesday night. I don't actually know, to be fair, but it wouldn't surprise me if we're quite high up anyway, unless there's been a certain team that's just lived off penalties. Probably Wickham, but I don't know about that, actually. So we haven't had many penalties, have we? We had probably 1 penalty, I think.
Yeah, we've had 1 penalty, but that first set piece was unbelievable because it wasn't something that was very, you could tell it was off the training ground. There was a trigger, and it was the time as well, which was brilliant. You could see that Chambers had to wait to hold, almost block the 2 centre halves from coming out. And we've been on the receiving end of that this year. We've had a few goals like that where, we've kind of almost copied what teams have done to us. But isn't it so effective? But the finish from Joel Colwell, unbelievable. He's had to kind of swing his leg around on the angle, and he's hit it top bins in the postage stamp. And you think, well, okay, fantastic. But then that in-swinger from Ollie Tanner for the second one, like anybody gets a touch on that, that's in the net. And, maybe in years gone by, we haven't had that quality. And, it's not as if we're playing against sides who are small. They're big centre-halves. We look at Wimbledon the other night. They were huge. So it's not a given to score against set pieces. So you have to do your homework, and credit where it's due. Lee Riley and all the others in the coaching staff, they're obviously doing, they're earning their money, aren't they? Because we're scoring a variety of goals.
Yeah, certainly are, honestly. And it just makes me excited now because the last time we played Plymouth was another 4-0. It was 5-0 last season, wasn't it? And it's mad to think that we actually went down. But Plymouth were really, really poor last season, but so are we, really. And now we're seeing, what it seems like now 2 teams that are still quite far apart in terms of talent and ability. I do think Plymouth are going to have some talent in the squad. They've got Joe Rolls, former captain for Cardiff City, and it kind of feels weird that he's gone to somewhere like Plymouth, if I'm being honest.
He's out, isn't he? He's out the season now.
Yeah, it's just sad to hear about it. But at least that means we won't have to play against him and beat him, because I wouldn't want to win against Joe Rolls, if I'm being honest. Feel disrespectful. But no, I wouldn't want to see him out injured. If I can be honest, there's not too many people that say cause many problems. I think one of their players last time was not arguing, but he was constantly talking to the ref about everything. I think it was the Plymouth game. I think he ended up just getting carded. I thought it was the funniest thing ever. I don't know. It looks like Cleverly plays him on a diamond formation, like a 3-4-2-1, which I recommend we tried before. But it seems like we've kind of stuck with our 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3 all throughout the season. I'm not sure if you know many of the players. Do you see any threats or any potential dangers for us? Any areas that we might struggle in?
Yeah, there's 3 players I looked at. Obviously, Tolai, I think his name is. He Port Vale, didn't he, at the beginning of the season? And he scored 12 goals, 4 assists. Pebble, I believe his name is, or Pepple. He's at the minute is doing quite well. But, I can't remember who it was who said about their home form. They are, let's have a look now. As per their home form, they're terrible in the league. They are absolutely diabolical at home. And that's shocking to think that they're second from bottom. They've only had 18 points at home park this season. They've won in 16 games. They've won 5 games, drew 3 and lost 8 at home. So, again, I know stats are there to be won or to be broken or whatever, but if you're going to beat someone, you're going to capitalize on what they're not so good at. Is that because their fan base is passionate and they turn on them quickly? Who knows? I think Malachi Boateng has got their highest assist, but I think like I've said on previous shows, if we're the best version of ourselves, we bring that tempo, we bring that press, we don't let them settle, we let their fans get frustrated. I just think we can pass them off the park. We are first in the league with possession at 61.5% per game. They're 13th with 49.7% possession. I know that's only a silly little stat that people might say, but you do have to have the ball to win the game. It's how you use it. And I think as we go there, we start linking up, we're being fluid. I can't see us losing. And, their last 10 games, they've won 5, lost 2, drew 3. We're yet to lose. We've won 6, drew 4. So, we're on a 12-game, is it? 12-game unbeaten run.
Literally,
It's brilliant. And like you said, we're flying. I mean, we do score on average 1.9 goals per game, which, that's unbelievable. They concede 1.5 goals a game. So there's definitely something to have, there. And as you said, like with regards to your FOTMob, this is pretty much where I've got mine pre-show was FOTMob, having a little look, because you do look at areas you can get at them. And Kellerman, do we play Kellerman at front again? Do we play him as that false 9 with Joel Colwell? I'm certainly for it. I mean, the last 4 games we've been flying with them. So
I would like to see. I know this is going to be a very risky opinion. I would like to see Scanlon start and have Bagan on the bench. At any point, you could just bring Bagan on, because I think we tried against Rotherham. We tried Mafiko at left back, and let's be honest, right? He did the best he could, but he's not left back. And we brought Bagan on after 30 minutes. And it's not against youngster. He's only 18 now, I think. But I would not be only one drastic change, and there's nothing against Bagan. I just think if we can give Bagan a rest, because I still think he hasn't had a proper rest yet. He's only had about a couple games off, if that, because an NG's played out of position. I want to see, just give him a run in this game. We're in good form now. It's 12-game unbeaten run. Now is a good time to put him in a winning culture, not wait until we have our first loss, then go, let's change things up now. I think very, very slowly introduce some of the other players who probably don't get as much game time. Maybe, I don't know, maybe start Ashford instead of Willock, but just knowing you can bring them on as well. Again, nothing drastic, but I think you keep the same system in terms of you have the false 9, Kellyman, the box crasher, Joe Colwell, and you just play with that system. And as long as you've got Wintle or Robertson as the number 6, and we don't do any drastic sort of change of formation or whatever, it works. I think one thing is that we found our formation, we stuck with it. We haven't changed formation to match the other teams or anything like that. It's been consistent, but we just have slight changes in terms of how we want to play. I think in Luton, it was quite intentional that we would sort of let them have a bit more of the ball, because if I'm being honest, if we really wanted the ball back off them, we would have kept it. But, we didn't attack as ruthlessly as we did, as in the first half where most of the game was played. But I think that was probably just to give them a bit of a rest, because we don't need to overexert ourselves. Like you said before, it was like a boxing match. It's there's times when you want to sort of ease off the gas. Otherwise, if you just throw your punches straight away, you're going to be knackered. And then if that's all you got and your opponent's still there, then you've got to receive all that being tired now. I think maybe I would probably start Scanlon, and he's most likely not going to. He's probably going to give him gradual incremental minutes, which is fine. But even if you say you would take it off half time for Bagan, I wouldn't mind that. Apart from that, the only other changes I would make is maybe put Lawler back in the side. I know he's only just been put back on, put back in the side. But I'm sure if he's on the bench, he's, at least able to give us 60 minutes. And like I say, it's great that you can always, you always have that assurance of a worst case, you can always bring a solid option on as replacement. We've got 4 really good performing centre-backs now. We've got covered at full-backs finally. But now I think we need to probably use the likes of Scanlon. Again, I wouldn't say change Trot yet, but look, I mean, maybe once out of a blue moon, just give Tyre a run. I don't know. I just feel like I want to see what he's about, really. And because then that will show to Trott, then be like, okay, well, he's actually half decent. I need to make sure. And look, Trott hasn't put a foot on the line, really, even for the penalty, he dived the right way. I just think we got to just test the players just that little bit more now to make sure they, to really ask them, are you actually, a team player? Are you actually going to push all the way through? Because at the end of the season, players will get a bit more complacent. They'll get tired. We've got a small squad, so it's not going to be easy. But I'm not sure if you would think of making any changes for the Plymouth game, or if you reckon just stick as we are and roll on the game.
I think it just depends, isn't it, on what game plan you want to play. If you want to be fast and tempo, you could put a Scanlon in there, like, players and the comments are saying he's rapid. And we saw that first time when he was at Millwall last year. He can get up and down.
He scored.
Yeah, and the stat on Plymouth, they've conceded the most penalties in the league. They've conceded 7. I know we've only been gifted 1, but maybe that's what you could do. You could get in behind him and hope that you get clipped and so on. I'd like to see Gabe O'Show. I think he's mentioned about Gabriel O'Show being in contention to play. I just think away from home, we saw, especially at Bradford, where we knew it was going to be tight, it was going to be physical. I think they're the sort of things you look with Tolai, I think his name is, however you say it. He is a handful. He likes to put himself about, and maybe you do need that Gabriel O'Show and a Chambers sort of partnership just to say, like, we've got that experience, know when to step off, not to engage with him because he'll want to get you sent off and so on. I always say, and it sounds daft, is even though you're a substitute, it doesn't need it doesn't need that term, does it? I'll always look at it as impact. You're an impact player. Yeah. And I think we've scored a lot of goals with impactful players. And I think, naturally we all want to blow people out the park, 3-0 straight away, bang, goodbye, good night, Irene sort of thing. But there are games where, like you said, we're going to have to wait to the 60th minute just to tire these players out and then to almost unload the armory that we've got on the bench. And I think we can. I think when you look at our bench, we've noticed that BBM doesn't put a goalkeeper on the bench unless he has to, because he's got so many options. Now, whether that'll bite us in the backside at some point, who knows? But I just think, Ruben Colwell's going to come back in gradually. We're not going to make that same mistake again, are we, with almost forcing players back. Why change a winning team, though? Do they look tired? I don't think so. I think when you're winning games, tired is sector. When you're losing games, naturally, your mental state and everything hurts, doesn't it? But listen, I'd love to see Callum Robinson. I'd love to see Robinson get a goal. He's been so unlucky of late, where the keeper's made a brilliant save and things like that. Just for him, more than anything, just to get a goal. Because I think this year, Callum Robinson hasn't thrown his toys out the pram. He's been, he's been the uncle, as Tans Nyakua said. He's Uncle Robbo, and
Uncle Rob, I love that.
And I think that's what we want, isn't it? Is no matter if you're not starting, you're ready and you're cheering your teammates on to get a win. And I'm sure the conditions will be horrible down there. They always are when we go down to Devon. But hope what they are. If he's injured, fantastic, happy days, because that's one less threat to worry about.
Oh, it's on the bench the last game, but he's probably I'd say it's the best sign of the season, really. And I'll be honest, I mean, he started scoring a bit too soon for Port Vale, didn't he, to stay there. But no, I think they got a decent squad. I think they'll have a really strong push next season. Unfortunately, I just don't think. I don't know. Actually, they're only 2 wins off getting in the playoffs. If Huddersfield lose the next 2 games, they've already lost their last 2. I mean, Plymouth have won their last 2 against both away games, by the way, like you said. 4-0 against Blackpool and 3-1 against Leyton Orient. So there's no easy games there. So they have come about. They are coming on the back of a bounce. But at the same time, have they gone 12 games unbeaten? They haven't. So we'll see. But I'll have to end this now, guys. I know I asked yesterday, but I'll ask again. What do you think the score prediction is going to be? And I'll ask one more question. Who do you think will be the standout player for the Plymouth game? Obviously, you have to say a Cardiff City player. I'm going to say, I don't know what to say. I'll come to you first, Jamie. Who do you think will be the standout player for Plymouth?
I think, well, so for us, I think Joe Cole is going to have a big part to play. I just think is, like you said, his engine and the way he's able to cover so many yardage, like he did when at Rotherham, even in the 93rd minute, he ran 50 yards back, dispossessed the player. So Joe Cole will be my player. I think he will do brilliantly. I'll go with my daughter's always prediction, which is a 2-1 Gary Bell, as he always says, 2-1.
Nice.
But if I'm honest, I will take a point and then move to the next week because I think, yes, of course, I want to win, but we've got we can had a 6-point week and let's hope we get a 9, but I wouldn't be too disheartened with a point. That's just me saying that with our
fair enough. I think I said 2-1 as well yesterday, but 2 people are saying Tanner as their man of the match or as their mother. I'm not sure which one, but hey, each to their own. Cardiff 3, Plymouth 1. The Plymouth keeper is usually their best player against us. To be fair, that's been like the case for a lot of times. Really, I think the Luton keeper was pretty good. The Blackpool keeper against us, the Peacock Farrell, whatever. People are saying he's terrible, but against us, he was insane. I think he was too good for. I think he was on loan from Burnley. I think it was, or I'm not sure, but. I gotta say, some of the keepers in this league, they don't disappoint. I will say, at each league you get really good keepers, mind, but they haven't got Mr. Nathan Trott Octopus, have they? So that's a downside to them. But lots of 3-1s, 2-1s. Joe Cole, man of the match, says Jonathan Mordecai. I don't know if I said mine yet. I'm gonna throw a curveball. I'm gonna say Callum Robinson is gonna pick up. I don't know. I get a feeling like he's slowly got a bit more game time now. I feel like there's been an intentional reason why he hasn't got as much game time. I mean, there's always a reason behind BBM's method of madness, in the best way possible. I think I'm not saying he's going to start, but I think he'll just continue to come on a bit earlier, and he's got a point to prove as well. I think so. I think he's really going to think, okay, well, if there's any game going to do it, let's do it against Plymouth. But yeah, that's what I'll say. Jamie, thank you so much for joining me tonight. It's been a pleasure, and it's been nice to catch up after so long.
It has. It's been enjoyable, mate. It's been enjoyable.
Awesome, and thank you all guys for getting involved in the comments as well. Cardiff City fan says he won't come on until the 70th minute. Ev, I hope that's not true. I hope he comes on earlier, but who knows? Who knows? But I'm just anyway. I'll read it. I've gone 2-1 the last 2 games, and I was proved wrong, so I'll be predicting that again. It's fine. Predict 5-0 again. It's all right, mate. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me all, and we'll see you all soon. If you're not a member, become one. Please do, and I'll see you on the next one. See you soon.
This channel is powered by an incredible membership community on Cardiff City World and patreon.com/AcePodcastNation. Becoming a member unlocks exclusive rewards from early access to live event tickets, bonus content, and even the occasional inside transfer scoop when we get it. But more importantly, it allows us to bring you top quality Cardiff City content 7 days a week. Across those 7 days, we're talking match previews, exclusive interviews, instant match reactions, the breakdown podcast, tactical deep dives, the spotlight series, Bluebirds Rewind, Academy Focus, and just so much more. Led by myself, backed by an army of passionate Cardiff City fans, this is content created by fans, for fans, balanced, professional, and 100% all about the club we all love. If you enjoy what we do, then join the community today and support what we are doing as we help to keep Cardiff City World flying high.